All right. Right now, we're about ready to start combat, but we need one thing first. One thing that would be really good to have class for is enemies, because we're going to have a bunch of different types and they'll just differ based on like stats and the like. So we're going to make a new class. We'll go to Combat Company, right click, do new Java class, and make an enemy class. Now, I think to be a proper enemy, they need to have a name. They need a like a HP, an int. So they need a certain amount of life. They need kind of like a damage sort of thing. And maybe their own like protection. All right, since you guys are veterans and have watched a bunch of movies, you hopefully have seen this before. But since I'm feeling a little lazy, I'm going to generate a bunch of the things I will need right now. I need a constructor, so I went to code generate. I'm going to hold down shift, hit here, select them all, and I've got an enemy constructor. And then I also want some getters, and maybe like a take damage thing. And I'll think this through in a sec. So I'm going to generate some getters, because that'll probably be useful. And I'll just generate them all. I may or may not use them all. All right. Other things we need can be created later when we decide we need them. One thing we will need, though, is a list of enemies, and I like creating them here. I think that's a good thing to do. So I'm going to create a static method that holds all my possible enemies. So I'm going to do like public static, and it's going to like select an enemy. Maybe get enemies. All right, I'm going to make this a little funny. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to make a private static variable, enemy array, in enemies. And right here, I'm going to say, hey, if I have not initialized enemies, if enemies is equal to null, do all this stuff. I will initialize my enemies array. I'm going to say enemies equals new enemy array, and then I'll do the same thing I did for all the other guys, like for the weapons and armor. So again, I could make separate enemy variables. It could be like enemy slime equals new enemy, and then say like, oops, and say slime, and say they have, I don't know, 10 HP and they do 5 damage or something. Who knows? That might be terrible. Oh, what else do we need? Oh, they need protection too. Let's say they have 6 protection. We'll branch out. Depending on how we decide to do things, that may or may not need shifting. So in this case, in my enemy array, I could add, like, maybe I'll make another one before I go on about that. Let's say we're going to fight a, I don't know, goblin. Goblin, and they have, let's say they have 20 HP and do 10 and 12 or something. So they're a much harder opponent. So in here, I could just say slime. I could say goblin. So you can just do it like this if you want. That might be easier for you to understand. When I do this kind of thing, if I hit like a comma here and hit enter just to make it spaced out better, and then start doing like new enemy, and then say, who knows, it's a troll next. Sure. Do a troll, and they have 30 HP, and they do 15 damage, and their protection is 18, who knows, whatever. And then I can just keep doing that. New enemy. Let's say it's a dullness thing. It is a lack of motivation. This is the big boss, and it has 100 HP and does 100 damage and has a protection of 70. So whatever. Anyway, you can make a bunch of stuff. So now my enemies array will be set to have a slime, a goblin, this troll, and a lack of motivation. And you can have a bunch more. All right, so this just sets up enemies if they need setting up. I'm also going to create a select enemy. Oh, I'm going to do a copy enemy first. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a copy. Because basically, like, if I've got this array and I'm going to be messing with their hit points and having them, like, get lower each time, if I use the same object in the array, the enemy would still have their HP down, so that won't work very well. I could have something that heals them or whatever, and like a max HP thing. That is entirely your prerogative. Me, I'm just going to copy the enemies from the array, so they get a copy of the enemy. And this is just going to return a new enemy with exactly the same stats. Oh. Enemy. Oh, looks like I can access it here, so that's kind of nice. So I could use getters for these. I've got get names, get HP, get damage, and get protection. But since I'm in the same class, I don't need to use that. I can access them freely. So this just returns a new enemy object that starts with the same name as the enemy you put in here, the same HP, the same damage, the same protection. So I'm going to use this with my array and then just have a copy of the enemy each time and just make a fresh version each time you fight the same thing. So let's get it so we can select an enemy. So public static enemy, maybe get enemy, and maybe it'll take the player's level, and the enemy they fight will be within one of the level. I don't know. I will return a copy of when I get an enemy, I better double check that enemies has been made. So maybe I will put in get enemies here. That just ensures that this thing right here has been initialized. And initializes if it needs initializing. And I'm going to copy the enemy. Let's say it's from there, enemies, and I'm going to say it's like some random number. I'm going to say you can fight enemies at your level, one above or one below. So that's 3 possibilities. So I'm going to do math.random times 3. plus level -1. I think that'll work. So if you're level 1, it'll take your level, subtract 1, so 0, and let you fight the enemies in indexes 0, 1, or 2. But if you're at level 2, you'll only be fighting enemies at indexes 1, 2, or 3. So a little funny. Oh, no, semicolon there, semicolon there. Keep in mind, this is just a random enemy pretty close to your level. Yeah, perfect. So let's go back. Actually, that's probably good for now. Let's say this is the enemy class. Thanks for watching.